They lied. Erika Kirk and her story just collapsed. And the Robinson trial has taken a wild turn. She built this trial. Erika Kirk built this trial, and now she can't even control it. Welcome to Daily Delights, your daily dose of tasty tidbits that will get you revved up for the day. And you probably thought the strangest part of this Tyler Robinson trial was the defendant, a 23-year-old who confessed not once, not twice, but 4 times. Walked himself into a little police station and spent 7 months staring at a courtroom wall. We haven't heard a peep. He was just there in silence while his lawyers fight for his life. He's on trial for capital punishment, you guys. And if you thought that was the strangest part, me too. But I was wrong, because while everyone else is watching whatever Erika Kirk's Vegas-style residency tour has been putting on, or watching for what Robinson's team and the defense is going to do next, something else has been building in the background, and it looks nothing like grief, and it looks really orchestrated. Erika Kirk has her own lawyer. She has her own motions. She pushed for this timeline. She campaigned for the cameras, and the prosecutor standing right next to her in a case so airtight she shouldn't need any of this just stood up. This prosecutor just stood up and warned the courtroom that mischief lurks in the dark. He wasn't talking about the defendant here. There are 2 things sitting inside the legal record of this case that Erika Kirk's machine is barreling towards that she did not put there. And now she can't take it back. Here's all of the excess, is hard, all of the facts on the table for you guys to see. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the person who fought the hardest to build this trial may have just built something she can't control any longer. And real quick, I'm Lauren Perrytraw. Well, Perrytraw is behind me. She's she's tanning. And we're going to ask you to take a moment to please make sure you're subscribed. We've run this operation network free, independent every single day out of pure principle and an absolute refusal to let Katie Miller ever catch up. She's the wife of Stephen Little _ Miller. She married that man on purpose. And at the time of this recording, we're closing in on 100,000 subscribers. We're not slowing down. So consider every sub, every follow across, wherever you listen to your podcast, every comment, 6 words or more. I see it. I hear it. I read it myself. And I've been told it gives you 10 years of protection from Stephen Miller taking up residency in the space behind her toilet in the bathroom. There are a lot of things that Stephen Miller likes. Dark, wet, dreary spaces, and you might have to hear him late at night talking about Mexican-American 4-year-olds and how there's too many of them in the United States, and it's time to up the quotas. So, please stay safe. Let's work towards a timeline where that man is in a windowless cage. Let me start with this. This is a case that should already be over. Tyler Robinson is 23. He's accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University last September. And on paper, there should have been one of the most open and shut cases you've ever seen. He confessed 4 times to 4 separate people. He left a handwritten note for his roommate the morning of the pew-pewing. He texted about it. He posted in a group chat. Then, he tracked down a former cop he personally knew, sat across him, and told him what he did. And that cop walked him directly into the sheriff's office. There's surveillance cameras that caught him arriving on campus, caught him scouting the building, caught him going home, caught him coming back in a disguise. His DNA was on the towel and the screwdriver. It was all at the scene. The FBI ran it, the ATF ran it both independently, and both came back at the same time. Prosecutors called the odds astronomical and recovered these from his house. An unfired casing with words engraved on it that I am going to come back to, because that is the first of 2 things that Erika Kirk cannot control. So, we've got 4 confessions. We have a paper trail, lots of footage, air quotes, astronomical DNA odds, which is exactly why what is happening in the background just doesn't add up when your case is this strong. You do not need a second prosecution. You do not need a widow filing her own motions. You do not need a prosecutor warning the room about mischief in the dark unless something else is going on. And today's episode is brought to you by Brick House Nutrition. And everyone's talking about weight loss injections because the results are so dramatic. They lower blood sugar. They reduce appetite. But what if those results are what you want, but without the painful weekly injections and intense side effects? Doctors created a supplement called Lean. The studied ingredients lower your blood sugar, burn fat by converting it into energy, and curb your appetite, so you're not as hungry. Lean is not for the casual dieters with just a few pounds to lose. It was created for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. And I'm giving you 20% off and free rush shipping. Just visit TakeLean.com and use promo code Lauren. That's LORN and go over the ton. So Erika Kirk is not sitting quietly in the gallery. She retained her own private attorney, Jeffrey Neman, and has been granted official legal status as the victim's representative in this case. That is a specific designation with legal teeth, and she has used it at every major moment in this trial. Camera ruling. Her attorney filed arguments alongside the prosecution. Same side. Defense requests a delay. Her attorneys filed this. They filed arguments opposing any sort of delay. Remember, Erika Kirk wanted to invoke her right to a speedy trial, which is a motion she filed, and she filed that one herself in January, which is something that's unique, because ordinarily this is not something that's the victim's rights law, but it is in Utah. And she was, of course, quick to invoke it. And then the prosecution cited Erika Kirk's right to a speedy trial as one of the primary reasons for opposing the defense's delay request. So the state's own attorneys used the widow's filings as their justification. Her strategy became their strategy. This is not a widow in the gallery. You following what I'm saying? This is allegedly, don't come for me. This is looking like a coordinated legal operation running in parallel to the prosecution and feeding directly into it. So, while all this is happening on the legal record, Erika Kirk sat down with Jesse Watters on Fox News of all places, and she said this: "I want there to be no hesitation and understanding of what happened to my husband that day. I want there to always be full transparency. Why not be transparent? There's nothing to hide. I know there's not, because I've seen what this case is built on. So, first of all, there's been a delay in when this trial is going to begin. It's going to begin on my birthday. Shout out to cancers. And it's delayed because there are over 2 they lied. And now the entire Erika Kirk narrative is starting to crack apart. What looked like a straightforward case has suddenly turned into something way bigger and way messier. The Robinson trial has officially taken a turn nobody expected. Welcome back to Daily Delights, your daily dose of the internet's wildest stories and courtroom chaos. And trust me, this one keeps getting stranger by the hour. At first, most people thought the craziest part of the Tyler Robinson case was the defendant himself, a 23-year-old who allegedly confessed not once, not twice, but 4 separate times. A guy who reportedly walked into a police station on his own, then sat silently in court for months while his attorneys fought to save him from the death penalty. That alone sounded unbelievable. But now, that's not even the headline anymore. Because while the media focused on courtroom drama, something else was quietly building behind the scenes. And according to newly emerging details, it doesn't look like grief. It looks coordinated. Erika Kirk didn't just stay in the background as a grieving widow. She hired her own attorney. She filed her own legal motions. She pushed aggressively for timelines, cameras, and public visibility around this trial. And now, prosecutors themselves are making comments in court that suggest something much larger may be happening beneath the surface. One prosecutor even warned the courtroom that mischief lurks in the dark. And interestingly, he wasn't talking about Tyler Robinson. That statement alone has people asking serious questions. Because buried deep inside the legal filings are 2 major pieces of evidence that Erika's side cannot fully control anymore. And now those details are beginning to surface publicly. Here's where things become difficult to ignore. On paper, prosecutors should already have an airtight case. Tyler Robinson allegedly left behind a mountain of evidence. According to reports, there were multiple confessions, text messages, group chats, surveillance footage, handwritten notes, and DNA evidence collected from the scene. Federal investigators reportedly described the DNA match odds as astronomical. If all of that is true, then why does this case suddenly feel so politically managed? Why would a victim's representative need to push this hard behind the scenes if the prosecution already had overwhelming evidence? That's the question more people are starting to ask. Because Erika Kirk's legal involvement hasn't been minor. Her attorney, Jeffrey Neiman, obtained official status as the victim's representative, a role that gives significant influence inside the courtroom. Since then, her legal team has reportedly participated in major decisions surrounding the case, including arguments about trial timing and camera access. When the defense requested delays, Erika's side opposed them. When discussions about transparency came up, her side pushed for more cameras and more publicity. Prosecutors even referenced Erika Kirk's filings while arguing their own position in court. That's where critics say the lines began to blur. This no longer looked like a grieving widow sitting quietly in the gallery. It started looking like a second legal operation running alongside the prosecution itself. Then came the Fox News interview. During an appearance with Jesse Waters, Erika Kirk publicly defended the handling of the case and insisted there was nothing to hide. She claimed transparency was important and referenced the massive amount of evidence tied to the investigation. But that interview raised even more eyebrows online. Because if the case truly is as overwhelming as officials claim, many are wondering why there's such an aggressive public campaign surrounding it in the first place. Usually, prosecutors let the evidence speak for itself. Instead, this case keeps turning into a media spectacle. And now, critics argue that the strategy may be backfiring. The more attention this trial receives, the more scrutiny people apply to every filing, every motion, and every public statement. Online investigators, legal analysts, and independent commentators have started dissecting timelines and courtroom decisions frame by frame. And according to some observers, the deeper people dig, the more uncomfortable questions begin to emerge. Questions about influence, questions about coordination, and questions about whether the public narrative surrounding this case was ever as simple as it first appeared. Meanwhile, Tyler Robinson himself remains almost completely silent in court, which only adds to the tension surrounding the entire situation. Because now the focus is shifting. This is no longer just about Robinson. It's becoming about the system around the case and the people trying hardest to control how the public sees it. And if there's one thing history has shown over and over again, it's this. The harder someone pushes to control the narrative, the more people start wondering what they're afraid of. 0,000 pieces of evidence of files of documentation that they need some time to look through. And I don't know about you, but if anyone in my life that I loved or cared about was harmed in the way that Charlie Kirk was, I would take no chances at any stone being unturned. I would want to know everyone who was involved in every little detail. No rushing around. There is nothing more important than justice in this. But Erika Kirk saying she personally reviewed the prosecution's evidence. She knows what it contains. I have to call BS on that. She knows what it can, and she also knows what it can't withstand. And then she campaigned publicly for cameras. One of the things I've had to come to grips with here, Kevin, is that the wheels of justice sometimes turn slowly. Yeah. But yeah, we were pleased with the outcome here.